Joined now by 12-year NFL vet, two-time Pro Bowl tight end, co-founder of All True, partnering with FanDuel. We love it. NFL's Crucial Catch Initiative. You are an all-time good guy, Kyle. Excited to talk about that, but you are somewhere sunny and smiley, and we're here at Championship Weekend. Rams, Seahawks, Broncos, Pats. When you look at the slate and those two games, what's the first thing you think of?
I think the first thing that for me is Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay. When you look at everyone else in the playoffs, that don't really have the experience that those two guys have. Listening in to some of the show earlier, you guys talking about Josh Allen and a young offensive play calling head coach. And it's like you see what those two have done together. They're the exact same age pretty much. All the success they've had together in LA. So not to bring up a previous part of the show, but I think that could be a great opportunity for Josh in Buffalo.
You know him well. Yeah. You faced him a ton. DAVANTE Adams on that team. Can we look at that throw and the toe tapper? I would love to know. And this is something you've seen. I think you faced him more than 10 times, DAVANTE. I don't know how many times Stafford, but if you look at this, and you played for them for years in the North, this tight window reception. Can I see it in overtime? Can you talk me through the level of difficulty on this play?
Well, just the throw to begin with. You're throwing it over the safety that drops down into coverage. And just for DAVANTE to be able to make that catch in frigid temperatures when the ball feels like a rock, because if he doesn't catch it clean, he's not going to be able to get his feet down in time. So, yeah, it's fun watching those guys play together. Obviously played against Matthew for years in the NFC North when he was in Detroit, DAVANTE in Green Bay, and they've been doing it for a long time. So for me this weekend, it's the experience that the Rams have with, those two guys that I think could be a difference. What's your favorite DAVANTE moment?
You faced him a lot.
Yeah, man, I felt like I still have nightmares. I'm sitting on the bench. We're battling Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, and it's DAVANTE and Jordy and even back with Greg Jennings, like all those guys. They just had receivers everywhere, and we'd be battling them. You go sit on the bench after a big drive, and next thing you know, you just turn and grab your helmet because Aaron just hit DAVANTE for, a 75-yard touchdown or something like that. So, a ton of big plays from those guys over the years. So now I'm glad I just get to watch.
I was going to say, I shouldn't have said favorite moment. It's just maybe the one that stuck out. I want this for him. I think I'm looking at these four teams, a ring would really go a long way for him. I don't think he needs it for the Hall of Fame, but that he doesn't have one doesn't feel complete to me, and I'm such a fan of him just even as a person. Stafford has one, likely the MVP, and I'm thinking about it from your position watching these Rams. Last time the Rams played the Seahawks, they ran 13 personnel for 61% of their plays. They scored all 4 touchdowns off of it. As a tight end, can you illustrate or sort of illuminate the advantage that gives them against Seattle this weekend?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. We talked about Sean McVay earlier. Sean is one of the great offensive minds our game has ever had. But you think about a Sean McVay offense and the Sean McVay offense that I played against his early years as the Ram head coach. It's 11 personnel, and it was receivers everywhere. Jared Goff throwing to Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods and all those guys. And now when you look at their offense, you talked about 13 personnel, what they're able to do in the run game with 2 really, really good backs. Kyron Williams, Notre Dame guy, so I got to give him a shout out. But when you get in this 13 personnel, you have a guy like Colby Parkinson who, he's 6'8". I think he has 9 touchdowns since the halfway point of the season, something insane. And Matthew loves that big target that they tried to end the game on the fade route to him this past weekend, and you could see his comfort level in the tight ends. But at the same time, you watch that game in overtime, and I had somebody say it to me. I think it was yesterday. Matthew just never looks rattled. He never looks nervous. He never looks anxious. He's just so calm, confident in the pocket. And, he's able to kind of fall back on that experience from their previous Super Bowl run.
you're harping on experience more than I feel like anyone has. Like it obviously matters. And then there's the experience of just knowing each other within the matchup and like what advantages lie between those. You're no stranger, my friend, to playing a team in the playoffs that you've already met twice. You played the Packers a third time in the 2012 wild card. Didn't go how you wanted it to. So can you fill in the blank for me? The third, like when people say the third time's the charm. In the NFL, the third time's the what?
Well, in this case, it's like when you're a team that has, it's always hard to beat a team 3 times. For us, we split with the Packers that regular season. When you look at this Seahawks-Rams matchup, they split in the regular season as well. So, I think in this, the rubber match, the third time playing one another, again, I just keep leaning on the experience of Sean McVay, the head coach, the play caller, the experience of your quarterback. But at the same time, they're not going down to LA. It's a hostile environment. Obviously, the last time they played up there, incredible close game, went down to the wire, and I expect the same thing this weekend.
2.5-point faves, Seahawks at home. Who wins this one? You said down to the wire.
Yeah, I'm taking the Rams. I'm going with the experience. I'm going with Matthew. It's like you said, it'd be great to see DAVANTE get a chance. Matthew solidify himself. It's like he got the monkey off his back with his first Super Bowl, but you go win another Super Bowl and you put yourself in a completely different echelon of the quarterbacks.
Stidham over in the AFC, he's getting the start. Jarrett Stidham in place of Bo Nix, like heartbreaking, of course. The team may be rallying around him in some way. You've had some experience playing with backup quarterbacks in the playoffs, my friend. What is the most... Like, I would love for you to take me in, and I want, like, nuanced, like, nitty-gritty stuff that I don't know. Like, what needs to happen this week between the pass catchers on the Broncos and Stidham to iron out and get where they need to go? Like, what's going on right now?
Well, it's hard at this point in the year. I mean, just think about the point we are in the season, the amount of plays these guys have played, the games, the routes, like, this isn't like it's the week before training camp or, for me, we lost Teddy Bridgewater the last preseason game, and then Sam Bradford got traded to us week 1. Well, we were all fresh, so we could stay after practice and run routes and play catch up with Sam to get our timing down. Like, you're not really going to be able to do that as a bunch of Denver pass catchers. You're not be like, all right, Stiddy, we're going to go get an extra 30 reps after practice. So, a lot of times coaches are dialing back just practice reps right now and doing more walkthrough type things. So that way you're fresh for the NFC or AFC Championship game on Sunday. And so I think that'll be their biggest challenge is, how many full speed reps can they get this week with the backup quarterback becoming the starter while still being fresh on Sunday against the Patriots.
What was your relationship like with Keenan when he was the backup? I remember like Nate on Good Morning Football being like, I always was around the backup quarterback. I was always like hanging out with Seneca Wallace or whoever, like, if you have to go in, give me the ball. Like it was important for Nate to sort of develop that chemistry. Like, did you do that with your backup quarterbacks?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a tight end, you kind of always have that relationship with the quarterback room. It's kind of like, hey, we're always going to be here for you. We're that safety valve. We'll always be reliable. We're usually somewhere around the line of scrimmage. If you need us, just kind of ditch the ball. We'll be there. But for us, like Sam got hurt week 1. So Case started every game except for one after that. And it's like he was our guy. He was the starter throughout that whole year. But, I think, again, I've been on the other side of this too. We lost to the Eagles in 2017 with Nick Foles. Everybody thought Philly's season was over when Carson Wentz got hurt. He played at an MVP level that year. And all of a sudden, Nick came in and had one of the best
Kyle.
3-game stretches.
In prepping for this interview, I didn't even think about that game. I remember it very well. Wow. So he can do this. And it's almost like, should we expect him to do this? Like, I shouldn't be totally wowed if Jarrett Stidham goes and, like, lights this team up. And clearly you're calling for a big Evan Engram game.
Yeah, it's almost not fair to expect that.
Right.
But at the same point, you've got one of the best offensive coaches that, the last 2+ decades. Sean Payton's going to make sure they have a game plan that fits Stiddy, as he called him, well, and allows him to go out and you run the football, get him in some play action passes. And yeah, Evan Ingram's got to be a big target for the Broncos on Sunday.
Okay, who do you think wins this one?
I'm going with the Patriots. I'm taking both road teams.
Tell me why.
Again, you guys highlighted the Patriots defense playing at just such a high level. I like the Patriots defense. I like the way, Drake May handles himself on offense. Former teammate Stephon Diggs, would love to see him get a chance. So many great teams in Minnesota, so many great teams in Buffalo, and he's never gotten to the big one. And, to see Diggsy play in the Super Bowl would be awesome. So I'm rooting for the Patriots.
I'm trying to come to terms with, all my faves leaving the game. Y'all do it in these waves, and then, you reel me back in with, Tom came back for a little bit. Gronk came back for that year. Then I got to see Phillip for, a couple games, and I loved that. Harrison is going to be a tough one for me. And I bet you a tough one for you whenever he officially decides to have that happen. Notre Dame, another shout out right there to the Vikings. You guys spent over a decade together. What are your thoughts on Harrison Smith?
Yeah, I mean, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's one of the best to ever play that position. 14 years, incredibly versatile, and unbelievable in coverage. Come down and make tackles, play in the box, incredible blitzer. Again, I felt like sitting on the bench when our defense was on the field, you were never surprised when the crowd went nuts and it was Harrison making a huge play, an interception, forcing a fumble, just pivotal points in games throughout the course of our career together. And, Harrison can play as long as he wants. If he wants to keep playing, he's still playing at just an incredibly high level. I know he's incredibly vital to that Brian Flores defense, basically what he's allowed to do, the freedom that he gives Flo in terms of calling the defense. You just put him anywhere and he can do it still at year 14. So, I'm not sure if this is it for Harrison, but if it is, it's a Hall of Fame career and one that I was really lucky to be a part of and get to share the field with. You
don't know if he's done? You don't know?
If I were to play the FanDuel betting odds, I would bet that's it for Harrison. But you never know. You just never know because, like I said, he still can play. And that's the kicker. When we get older and we can't play anymore, like me, then I'm forced to be able to just hang out and raise money for charity and give away once in a lifetime Super Bowl experiences with FanDuel and American Cancer Society. But for Harrison, that's not the case. He's got everything left. He could still do what he did as a Pro Bowl player for over a decade.
Let's talk about what you're doing. All true. You're a legend for this. You're partnering with FanDuel. Welcome. We're teammates now. And you're doing something very cool. It's the NFL's Crucial Catch Initiative, of course, helping fans win an unforgettable Super Bowl experience. What?
Yeah, it's actually pretty wild. The opportunity to airfare, hotel, fly out to San Francisco, go to the FanDuel party, go to NFL honors, go to the game, just truly once in a lifetime experience. But the thing that I can't really wrap my mind around, and when I was a Walter Payton Man of the Year finalist, we got to be on the field in pregame for a Super Bowl. That's the closest I've ever been to being on a field for a Super Bowl. But in this once-in-a-lifetime experience, you get pregame field passes.
Stop it right now.
You will be on the field in pregame, and there's no energy like it. As an active player, I remember getting jitters watching warm-ups. It was Chiefs-Niners in Miami for that Super Bowl in 2020.
Yeah.
So once-in-a-lifetime experience, but the best part about it, it's for an incredible cause. So, yeah, only one person's going to win this once-in-a-lifetime experience, but ultimately, in order to be entered to win, you're donating to American Cancer Society and their life-saving efforts through the Crucial Catch Initiative. So, we get to raise money for a good cause while ultimately providing the once-in-a-lifetime experience of all once-in-a-lifetime experiences. Okay,
yeah. I'm looking at this right now. It's incredible work. And I've always incorrect. Just FanDuel is the number one. They're the leader in the space, and it is amazing to see the leadership sort of push to be also the number one in space and giving back. And that is something that I hold in high regard. I love that you're doing this. It's like a perfect teaming up of this. Drew Brees involved as well. So you donate at least $10, but I want to tell everybody, it's not like what you're saying. Like, obviously you get to go on the field. That's insane. Nobody gets to do that. It's like one of the most special things. NFL honors, Walter Payton Man of the Year, like that ceremony, the glitz and glamour of that night alone. You also get to go to FanDuel's Super Bowl party, on-field access, tailgates. So Green Day, I believe Adam Duritz and the Counting Crows will be, Goodnight Elizabething throughout the night. So that'll be so fun. I love that that you and your company are doing that. That is incredible. So we'll tell you guys where to find the information. It's all true as you're seeing on the screen.com to enter. A couple more for you. I got to ask you. We got to go back to the Vikings because I would like you to tell me what they should do with the quarterback position in 2026. What should it look like?
I think they have to bring in a veteran quarterback to compete with JJ. I think it's, a big mistake that they made last year, kind of just handing over the reins and not having a veteran to compete with them. There certainly were a few options, one of which is playing this weekend in the NFC Championship game. Another one in Daniel Jones that was in the locker room last year. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of and absolutely love his game. And this doesn't mean that JJ can't be your quarterback of the future, but just, handing him over a Super Bowl caliber roster and saying like, okay, go for it, and not having a veteran that is in that room and competing against him. I ultimately think that you're not setting him up for success. We've seen it so many times with, the Jordan Loves and Aaron Rodgers. We lived it in the NFC North for 2 straight decades because of the way the Packers transitioned their quarterbacks. And, I think the Vikings organization realizes that, they're set up to win right now. And, JJ can still be the guy. And ultimately we can see, another veteran quarterback, maybe, a guy who's trying to find a home, has played good football, but, would be willing to come in on a 1-year deal and compete. I think that's ultimately how you'll get the best out of JJ and set the team up for success in 2026.
Who would be your target? Is it Daniel? That deal is not done. He could Aaron? Tua? Kyler?
I think you've got Mac Jones. I think there's a lot of options in terms of guys who, to me, if I'm looking at that list, Aaron, if he wants to come back and make a run with, an incredibly talented roster in a division that he's very familiar with, I completely agree. I think ultimately Daniel, I'd love to see Daniel stay in Indy long term. It's a shame that the roster got beat up the way it did. Obviously, Daniel had the injury with the broken leg, then the Achilles. So I'd love to see him stay there long term. I think, Mac Jones is an option. Aaron's an option. Bringing somebody in, I think, doesn't really matter who it is. There's plenty of high caliber veteran quarterbacks that could come in, and Kevin always gets the most out of them. There's no better quarterback whisperer than KOC, and I think he would be a great spot if you're a veteran quarterback like a Tua trying to revitalize your career. If he is on the market, wouldn't be a bad place to look.
No brainer for the Colts to get it done with Daniel Jones. Love that you're saying that. Aaron Rodgers, do what you should have done last year and make that happen. I'm speaking to the Vikings here. Do you think Kirk is a possibility? I talked to him a couple weeks ago, right? And I mentioned, I was like, is there a Great Clips in Minnesota you want to go visit? And I talked to him. And then Stefanski gets there. I talked to him before Stefanski, and I said, if Stefanski gets there, that has to up his odds of staying in Atlanta, right? They love each other.
That's where I was going to go. It's like, I do think Kirk would be a guy that would make sense back in Minnesota, but I just don't see him getting out of Atlanta. He's under contract there. They were willing to pay him $45 million to be the backup, and now you bring in a head coach and a play caller that he's very familiar with. So I don't see him getting out of Atlanta.
Kyle, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time. We'd love to see where Kirk ends up. I didn't quite hear the end of what you said, but I'll go listen to it on YouTube, where you should subscribe. And please go to All True and donate those $10 that go for a good cause anyway. And then maybe we'll see you at the Super Bowl. Kyle, see you at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Always
the FanDuel party.
Yes. I always love our run-ins together. You're always the tallest guy, so you're easy to spot.